class. This is class 18, and today I'll be explaining why pets are important and dangerous for our happiness. This is a very unusual class. What I say in these classes is often the opposite to the popular stuff you hear on the internet. This class is for humble people who are willing to change their lives if they know it will make the world better. Every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. UK time, I talk about things that are crucial to our happiness for us as individuals and for our world. The whole free course is available on the homepage at bigquestionsanswer.com. The link is also in the website in the description below. I want to welcome my farmer friend Salim to the show. What's up?
Peace be upon you across the time and space that divides us.
Wow, cool answer. Okay, deep. All right. Um, so I ask guests to join me on the show to represent the viewers. I invite people to argue with me because they actually say what other people are thinking but are too scared to say so. So thank you for Salim for that. The format of the show is the first half will be about our main topic, pets, and the second half will be to open up any questions you have about life. You can comment, ask questions anytime. This is a live show. The answers I give are not my own guesses as to how life works. They are tried and tested ideas from Islam. You might ask why choose Islam for happiness tips. It has three unique features. It's inclusive, meaning the teachings say that you can find happiness even if you're not Muslim. It's scientific or logical. So, what I tell you here will not just be based on faith, and it's comprehensive. So, its answers have answers to everything to do with life from stress to saving the world. Cool. I managed to say that in time. Salim, how's it going in the farm?
It's good, very good. I was. We've obviously got 500 pets here. Well, they're not really pets, but we've got 500 plus animals. So
Cool.
I guess I should be able to make some contribution.
Yeah, I hope so. Awesome. All right. So, what was the first thing I was going to talk about? Let's see. So, um, let's paste that in here. Says tribe. So when I'm talking about tribes, I'm talking about the communities we put ourselves in. I belong to the Manchester United. I support Manchester United. All that kind of stuff, right? So here's the first thing: what have pets got to do with relationships? And the brief answer I'm going to give is something like, when you forget that we should all be friends on this little planet, you're in trouble. And as I said, this is from Islam. I'm going to quote something interesting from here, put it in the old chat there, and then I'll stick it on the screen so we can all have a nice read. There is not an animal that crawls on the earth, nor a bird that flies on its two wings, but they are communities like you. We have left out nothing in the book. Then to their Lord shall they be gathered together. Holy Quran, chapter 6, verse 39. So, by the way, in the description, I've got all the text, all the references and things about what I'm going to say. So, do check that out. And so, what have I got to say? So, as a starter point to explain or give an answer based on this verse of the Quran, I say how you treat animals is closely linked to how you treat humans. For example, if you are cruel to animals, it's a sign that you're a psychopath. Salim, what do you think? Any
Agreed.
thoughts?
Yeah, agreed. I think we love our animals. Some perhaps love them a bit too much. Um, but yeah, obviously we look after them, feed them, teaches us responsibility about looking after them. Um,
And your whole business is kind of based on this sort of philosophy, isn't it? Because there's this idea, most people think free range means, oh, the animals have a good waddle around everywhere they want, but it's not nothing like that, is it?
so
Normally,
it's quite
except yeah.
controversial because we love our animals in Britain, and we really want high welfare for them. We want them to be processed or put to sleep, i.e., butchered, in a humane fashion. The current, I mean, it's a little bit controversial, but they have these standards: the red tractor standard, red lion, lion standard for eggs. But
Are you being trying to be polite or something
no, I
about
mean
this?
the thing is that these
Or careful?
standards, marketing's taken over. The people
Tell
look
me
at
what
these
you
stamps.
do that's different compared to normal free range.
Okay, look. So
Just
very
briefly.
simply, I'm a farmer. We
Yeah.
produce eggs and chicken and lamb. Now,
Hmm.
when I looked into the legislation about what standards we should meet, I was shocked because I couldn't put RSPCA standard or Red Lion or Tractor standard because those standards are so weak and poor that I wouldn't, having read them, I wouldn't eat anything from those standards. Free
It
range
would be
means,
cruel, you feel.
yeah,
Like
they are
they would
cruel.
have
They are
next
cruel.
to no space to walk. Or you told me when I came to your farm,
Yeah,
they get
exactly.
like a few hours of sunlight or something a day.
They don't get even that. So a
They
free
don't get
range
that.
chicken is an industrial warehouse full of 20,000 chicken with a small walkway around the edge of the building that's concrete floor and fence, about 3 foot, go all the way around. No chicken comes out.
That is
They
terrible.
and that's free range because they get natural light and fresh air. But that's not real. When I think of free range, I think the chicken's outdoor, hanging around on the grass. So that's
Yeah.
how we do ours is we don't use fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide. Just quickly on that
I
note,
hope the chickens vouch for you on the day of judgment. That's what I'll say about that,
that's
yeah?
good. Yeah, let's hope so. So yeah, we
That's
try
right.
and treat them humanely. Well, not even humanely. We treat them with respect.
Cool.
All
I want to
stages.
move on to the next point because our
Yeah,
thing is just like a tractor theme. Next thing, next thing. So
go.
in Alcoholics Anonymous recovery program, you might have heard of it, people are told to keep pets as a way to demonstrate they know how to show real kindness, which is to consistently watch out for the needs of a living creature. So I'm defining kindness as not just, oh, be nice for 1 second. You gotta be kind every day. So consistency is an important part of kindness. What do you think about that?
So not just for Alcoholics Anonymous, but for children, they say gerbils and hamsters, good pets because you have to feed them, water them, nurture them is a good word. So they nurture them and they teach them responsibilities,
Yeah, and
which
if you
they
don't do
do.
it for a day or a couple of days, you'll see the result.
Well, yeah, and it's not great.
Yeah. So cool. And this is kind of the thing that kind of homes in the main point, I suppose. Keeping a pet is not necessarily kind. In Jordan, in the Middle East, where I lived for a few years, people do not disturb cats sitting in shop doorways. They're just sitting in the doorway, and people quietly walk over them and consider it cruel to put a collar on an animal or to trap it in a house away from its community. The same people are considered some of the most friendly people in the world, treating everyone as part of their community, inviting strangers just walking by their house to their house. So I used to go along the streets and people say "Faddal," which means come to my house, and I'd be really confused. Um, so what I'm saying is, first of all, animals have their little communities, just like um, the verse of the Holy Quran pointed out. So we do, as we do. So when we realize that, then that we're all part of little communities, and it kind of helps us realize, like, if we realize animals are part of communities, we kind of realize we're part of communities, and it's all kind of interrelated. Any thoughts?
Well, I think there's two or three things. Here we get controversial. So
Go for it.
I learn from animals. I learn how they, when you watch David Attenborough, if I'm watching them in the field, I learn how they get on. I learn about, uh, you know, um, I learn from the bees that they've got set tasks. One's a worker bee, one's a drone. So you can learn from animals, uh, uh, very much so. So you get something from them, and it is rewarding and relaxing to pet a cat, for example, and have it rolling around, or especially when they're puppies or kittens, running around. That's always it's watching life, and that gives its own reward. It's very
Yeah,
therapeutic.
have your kittens grown up yet? Because you had them the other day, or a week or two ago or something.
They're still bounding around and jumping for joy at life.
So Salim's in a little cabin at the moment. That's where he lives, in his farm. So it's pretty awesome. Came
So
to
I'm in the
visit
farm.
him.
I'm in the farm office because I was in the office today, but obviously we live in London.
Yeah, yeah. But you're in the farm cabin, let's say, the
I'm
office,
now,
yeah?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, cool. All right. So that was cool. We managed to talk about that. Let's talk about the next bit of why. Oh, gosh.
But hold on,
One
Colin. What do
second.
you think? What do you think about
I had a few problems with
what do you think about animals being
go on.
overlooked after? For example, you have you have pet technology, pet tech,
Yeah,
and they have
yeah.
dogs that you buy coats for and blankets for and earrings, and very expensive. They're very expensively looked after. Special food for them. And on the other hand, in the other side of the world, you have 800 million people who don't get a meal a day.
That
Where's
is,
what do you think about that?
I think a lot about that, and which is exactly what I'm going to basically be talking about in a different way than I expected to say, but it's the same topic. So this is how um people can seem toxic, and you might go, what's that got to do with what Salim is saying? But I'm going to get to that. So the kind of general question is, why are animals more likable than people? Don't agree, but that's what a lot of people say, and a certain category of people I've noticed say that. Okay, and the answer is, dog companionship can be addictive. Let me unhide. I can't even read my own little thing. Um, Reducing our ability to have deeper relationships. Okay, so, and then I'm going to quote a verse of the Holy Quran. I'm not a verse of the Holy Quran. Quote from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Angels do not enter a house which has either a dog or a picture, and it's not a normal picture like a photo. It's like a likeness of a person, like a drawing of a person in it. So it's a very interesting kind of connection between the two. And let me see. So this is the thing. I'm gonna read my standard thing, and I'm gonna connect it to what you just said about how you could say over kindness, but I'm not sure if it's actually over kindness. Is something else, right? So dogs understand human faces better than any other animal. Okay, and they are also bred to be faithful friends, right? There's another word of saying that, subservient or something. Okay, some people feel more comfortable being friends with dogs than humans. This has been shown to be bad for mental health, as human beings need to have meaningful conversations, which you obviously can't have with a dog, right? So this is similar to the effect of drawing pictures. So I'm just connected to why the drawing pictures thing, right? Um, this is similar to the effect of drawing pictures of people you know, which develops an unhealthy addiction to simpler forms of. I think I've missed some words or something in my whatever. Simpler forms of relationships rather than deep relationships that you might get with human beings. So um, yeah. So what's that got to do with this over kindness? It's actually an addiction, an obsession with a shallower form of relationship. So the people who are spending loads and loads of money on dog food, for example, are not spending that same amount of money on human beings. You'll find, I would expect, because first of all, the dog doesn't want it. Okay, I've had loads of animals when I was in the Middle East. Animals that just our dogs were walking around, whatever. They like the really fresh stuff, like a dead bird or something that's just freshly been killed, not with I don't know quail's eggs thrown in the middle. I don't know what. I'm just thinking of something posh I've never eaten myself, right? So caviar, they don't want that, right? So yeah, I think it's to do with that. Any thoughts?
Uh, well, when 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 livestock dies and needs processing, that's turned into dog pet food. So it's not particularly fresh. Uh,
I'm
that's all I
glad I
can
didn't
say
give my
about
animals any dog foods in the Middle East. We just gave them real stuff, like just go to the butchers and it's just been killed the same day, toss it to them, toss it to the cats and everything.
that. Yeah. But I can see what you're saying. I mean, it's similar to if I had a Kindle or a device, a screen, and I'm spending all my time on a screen, then I'm not spending that time with other persons. My social skills degrade because I'm
And it's
spending all
not
my
just
time.
that. Yeah, oh yeah, you could call it liken it to a Kindle, but remember, first of all, dogs understand your faces. They're the best at understanding human faces. Okay, so that's a really interesting thing about them. And so they can react to you and they're going to react in a subservient way, like a slave sort of way, because that's what they're bred for. So you're going to get this kind of like over pleasing, easily pleasing creature. And when you get addicted to that, you get a bit annoyed with normal human beings who go, I just told you a joke and you did not laugh at it. I'm
Yeah, I
never
think it's.
talking to you
I mean,
again.
you have to strike a balance between,
Mm,
for example, if you had a pooch, that means you have to go outside every day to take it for a walk, which is
mm.
beneficial for you. You get your fresh air, exercise, so it has benefits. But as with anything, if you spend all your time with your pooch at the expense of your family or social relationships, that's not great either. So I've got no qualms with people say giving their like looking after their pets, but when it goes in excess, then there's something you have to think twice about that. I would say.
Mm. I think that there's an interesting difference between having a dog inside a house and outside a house. It's a different sort of relationship, and that's kind of the second point I was going to make. So I'll kind of finish that point. It's something like when the dog is inside your house, um, it's sort of more intimate and addictive, and your relationships with other people becomes different. So that's why I had like the title toxic on the top of the graphic, right? Because there's this word, everybody's toxic, that person's toxic, don't work with, you don't have a relation, give time to toxic people. Everybody seems to be toxic nowadays, so that people are not spending any time with their relatives anymore. Oh, that person's toxic, I'm not going to spend any time with them. You hear that all the time on social media, and I think that's a result of this kind of relationship. um and so yeah, and also, I mean, carrying on, like making my next point, kind of following on about keeping dogs inside or outside the house. Dogs enjoy helping humans in jobs like guarding possessions. They're actually bred for that, or there's something in their nature, right? um which comes naturally to them. They rather do this than be kept imprisoned in a house. This is how dogs are kept in Jordan in the Middle East. So I actually wrote that wrong. They're not kept in a house in the Middle East, not usually, except for the really posh people. They're usually just walking around, um, chilling out, doing whatever they want, and they come back whenever they want, and all that kind of stuff. That's my thoughts about that.
So
Like,
a working dog, it lives on the grounds. It lives in the grounds and it
yes.
does its job. And the cat will be out. We have farm cats. They know their job. They don't come inside. Obviously, there's a cleanliness factor with having pets in the house. They drop hair, they molt, they can be smelly, they might have accidents around the house. So there's the whole issue around hair in your plate and your food and things. A friend of mine, or somebody I bumped into, he said that his his pooch was away, and what it meant was that he was now having to wash the plates, because previously, as soon as the family ate dinner, the dog would lick the plates clean before they went into the dishwasher. And
Yeah.
obviously, he was a little bit missing the pooch because now he's having to wash the plates before they wash them in the dishwasher. But it's not something I would ever
Yeah.
entertain.
Especially
So yeah,
since they might clean their backsides before they clean your plates, but with that same tongue. Yeah. Oh, no comment. Okay, that would do. Oh yeah, we run out of time. To be fair, Salim's so professional. Okay, so next point, trust. Another major problem that people have in their relationships. And I'm going to quote. So since I did a sort of sound almost anti-dog sounding quote from Prophet Muhammad, and that can really be misunderstood. I'm going to do something what you hear a lot more often about animals and dogs is included. Here's an example of what you hear more often from Islam. A woman used to do lots of bad things, prostitute, came across a dog who was, see, I'm making it child friendly, but then they can ask what that word means, you see. Who was, so there was a dog who was stretched out near a well in agony of thirst. So if you don't know, dogs actually stretch out when they want to eat or in agony or whatever, right? So she took off her shoe. I bet she liked her shoe, right? And tied it to her scarf, which I bet she liked as well, and drew up water. So stuck it, down the well and got some water for the dog to drink from her shoe. Um, all her sins were forgiven. So there's a bit missing there at the end. I don't know, somewhere. That's a quote from Prophet Muhammad. So what have I got to say about that? Brief comment number one is this is something people give up on themselves, and this is about having hope for yourselves. That's one of the messages in this little quote. Like, doesn't matter how bad you are, God is in Islam is seen as an extremely kind God, but it's also connected to a very interesting topic, so kind of a subconscious topic. When you have no hope for yourself, it's something to do with what I call nihilism. Not what I call nihilism, it is called nihilism. So, an enemy of hope is nihilism, okay, which is the belief that everything is random, so there's nothing to look forward to. Because if it's random, there's no patterns, so you can't possibly look forward to anything. Nihilism is not logical, as there is so much order in the universe. So, have hope if you are good, as the universe conspires to reward the good. So maybe that's all really convoluted and complicated, throwing in the nihilism thing. But I think that is part of kind of a subconscious problem that people suffer from when you don't have hope. And this whole quote about being kind to the dog is to do with having hope. I don't know. Was that really confusing? Did you understand any of that?
a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. I mean,
Yeah.
in Islam, we're taught never to despair in the mercy of God because He's all forgiving in the
Yeah.
end. I don't, there's no burden, there's no mental burden of guilt. Uh,
And see,
is
you mentioned God, right? And I'm talking to this is supposed to be for the average Westerner. And this is what I'm talking about, the subconscious problem that's built here. Because most people don't believe in God. And when you don't believe in God, you're saying basically everything's random. And this is for me, for what I've seen, a major reason why people don't have hope. So I kind of had to go the long way around and say, you know what you're saying when you don't have hope for yourself, and a lot of people don't have hope for the future and they just carry on doing bad things, it's like, you know what? First of all, you think that this thing called nihilism, which nothing matters, there's no meaning in life, and all that kind of thing, is no problem. And you think it's logical. I'm saying it's not logical, first of all, because you can see the order in the universe. So then you come back, oh, there might be a God. And then you go, oh, if there's a God, what does God want from me? So I kind of packed in a lot of things in that paragraph, but it's like, what is God like? Just from our experience of the universe, like when you do good things tend to happen in the long run, not immediately, but they tend to. If you work hard, you get good results. And I'm saying the universe or God or whatever conspires to help you when you do good things, and that's why you should be hopeful. It's a kind of really long explanation, but that's why I had to say all that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm not an atheist, but if I took the atheist point of view and I was disappointed in life, this is it. This is it. As soon as I'm dead, game over. There's nothing more. So what I've got now in life, that's it. So I have to make the most of it. But if you're an atheist and you follow Darwin's theory of evolution, I mean, I'm not going to talk about how much it's potentially needs changing here, but if you believe in step by step improvement through natural selection, that means things get better and better. So, if you're an atheist and you believe in theory of evolution, then you should have hope because everything is getting better step by step, better and better. Um, I just want to distract you for a moment. What do you think about veganism? Because vegans, back to the pets, vegans, they love their animals so much that they don't want to eat them. But my view is that animals serve a purpose. A cat, for me, on the farm, I mean, it serves a purpose of catching mice. And
Right. So the vegans don't stop the cats from eating mice, do they?
no,
That's They don't. But also, I mean, I just go to the fundamentals of that. I mean,
excuse
that's a
me.
very important question. Bless you. That's a really important question about, since we're talking about kindness to animals. Okay. And on the one side, I don't like to. I'm not a
Excuse me.
believer in, bless you. I'm not a believer in putting down people. I'm not a for or against. I think it's really good what vegans do. It's really good what vegans do. You know, they're trying to be kind to animals, and there is a lot of nasty stuff that's done to animals. It's cruel. Don't even go to the list. Vegans know about it. So hats off to them for that, right? Okay. But at the same time, let's go to the fundamental principles, which is, do vegans kill anything living? Yes, they do all the time. Bacteria. Oh, guess what? Plants are living things, according to science, by the 7 characteristics of living things. They are definitely living things. Yeah. So guess what? You know, vegans also do kill living things. So then where do you start? Where do you stop? It doesn't quite make sense. So I don't want to just dispose of the idea of veganism. I'm just saying fundamentally it doesn't really add up. But um, at the same time, I can appreciate what they're doing because we've gone so far the wrong way with animals. So, for example, when I was living in the Middle East, we only ate meat once a week on Fridays, basically like a celebration. It's kind of more closer to nature. That's how natural. Because it's actually really hard to raise chickens. So we had chickens. We did it really badly, but after like a year, we killed the chicken to eat it, and there was next to no meat on it. Like we didn't get the right type of chicken or something. But still, it's not easy to raise meat, as it were. I don't know what your opinion is on that. You're probably more expert than I am.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I raise meat for a living,
Yeah,
but I advocate that we should eat less meat,
yeah,
but the quality of it should be higher. The
yeah,
welfare standards should be higher. Farming and agriculture needs to change. This industrialization, Tescoization of commercial industrial scale farming, it doesn't suit us as humans because it doesn't give us great health in the long term. It doesn't serve our children either.
yeah. There is something dodgy about. I mean, there we know we've experienced lots of bad health by eating all sorts of dodgy meat, and you can even feel it. I don't want to say certain companies, but I can feel it from certain takeaway chicken companies after eating it. You
So
know,
look, herbicides kill all plants. That's the whole point of them. And
mm,
pesticides kill pretty much everything that they touch. Now we spray all our crops, all our food, even the grass that our animals eat. with this stuff. It goes into rivers, kills the fish, goes into the sea, and then we wonder why rates of cancer increase so much. I see you've got a comment from a guest.
Yeah, I saw an ad. They make vegan food for pets as well. Um, yeah, I'm trying. I feel sorry for the pets, I suppose, in my quick because the pets want meat, and they
Yeah,
didn't
but
get to choose.
this modern, I mean, have you tried these these meat burgers that are not made of meat?
Oh, okay, I'm just
It's-
going to tell you one thing about that before we get to the question. So, Mr. Bill Gates, is a big fan of certain burgers, and I investigated the thing he's into, and it's all sounds good, but they brush over this one thing where they actually have to introduce blood to it for it to taste good, right? Heme or something, right? But then I said, okay, but it's not real blood. So where do they get the blood from? Genetically modified, created genetically. And I'm not a big fan of throwing genetics into or for thinking I know what I'm doing, because genetics, as I think you're a big fan of the whole topic of genetics, is an incredibly complicated computer program, basically the most complicated thing ever created, right? And us messing around with it, taking a snippet of that and tossing it into a cell and hoping it grows nicely, we don't really know what's going to happen with that. And I think, most people in the UK aren't big fans of genetically modified food. So I think there's a lot of hidden stuff happening there that the public don't know about, especially the vegans.
yeah, it's dangerous. I mean, natural husbandry, being a farmer, natural husbandry where we tune in animals, sheep, cows, it takes time and it's done naturally. But the new method of cutting and pasting software for humans or for life, which is um, the
Genetically modified
genetic,
version.
yeah, GM. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
Nobody's sure.
I'm not
Nobody's sure what's going
100%
to
on it.
come out of it. Yeah, which is something we're going to talk about later on when it comes to COVID vaccines. But anyway, so anyway, I wish this is a quote that I got from a movie I watched recently, and it's also from similar thing that I heard from one of my favorite movies ever, The Last Samurai. Okay, if everybody's watched it. It's all about finding peace and your direction in life and stuff. So this movie, a new Marvel movie, is so boring. I wouldn't normally watch it, but it had so many cool quotes near the end, right? So this girl says something like this, and she said a bit more, and I'm going to add a bit more bit actually. So I wish I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and then spent my whole life getting good at it. And I just added, "What's the solution?" to turn it into a question. But she carried on saying, I just start things, and then as soon as I get a little bit good at it or okay at it, I quit. And that says a lot. And I felt that when I was younger. And I feel that's a modern day problem that a lot of young people feel, especially starting off in their careers. And when I heard it also, I remember it most when I heard about it in The Last Samurai, where this, what's his famous actor? Who cares what it is? Yeah.
Tom
Have you
Cruise.
watched it? Tom Cruise. Yeah. Do you like the movie? Did you watch it?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And
Enjoyed it.
this basically, he watches these samurai training every day, really peacefully doing the thing they were meant to do, as it were, and they just get good at it and they enjoy it. Something like that, right? So anyway, this is supposed to be about Islam, and what's Islam got to do with say about it? And these are my thoughts. Let's hide that little, getting my mouse, there it is. So there's two kind of levels I would go about this, right? But I want to kind of clear up something before I actually explain it. There's kind of like, you are an incredibly complex creature, right? Like a bit more complicated than a TV remote. So the TV remote makes the TV on and off. It's got a certain function. We're like way more complicated than that. So this is kind of a Venn diagram. Venn diagram, this is what we do. Then there's a Venn diagram of the jobs you can do, right? And maybe there's a bit of an overlap, right? But what people are doing is like, forget what we're supposed to be doing. I'm going to fulfill my life somewhere in there. And I think there's a massive problem trying to fulfill your life or finding the meaning of your life through a job that makes money according to the jobs that are available in this day and age. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying you've forgotten the most important part of the equation, which is yourself and what you're made for. Okay, and that's kind of, again, that's the sort of the hidden thing behind a comment like this. They didn't ask for that. They didn't ask for what's the meaning of life, but actually they're actually asking what's the meaning of life. Like, how can I feel fulfilled? And if they don't want to ask what's the meaning of life, you're in big trouble. So that's kind of what I want to say. And then the quick Islamic answer goes something like this: two levels. The ultimate, the only meaningful thing that could possibly be meaningful is to be at one with God. So the Quran says, I have not created the great powerful people and the normal people, like, just to say, like, the 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 whole range of people, right? Okay, except so that you should be at one with me. So there's a word called ibadat, and Arabic is very deep. So I don't like to simply translate as worship, which means put your head up and down and stuff like that. It just means to, in Islam, it means to submit your will to do great things, to do God's will, which is, God's will is just to do nice things for other human beings, because God doesn't actually need anything from you. You're like a piddly little whatever, right? And the easier level, just to finish it off, I suppose, not finish it off, but finish off my comment, is God says, listen, you guys, Muslims, and anybody who wants to be like Muslims, compete in doing good things. Just do good things. And what's that got to do with anything? If you don't know what to do with your life, realize that intrinsically we just want to be good. That's the thing that makes us happy. We want to be of service. And then you will find a job that, if you can find a job that does that, you're going to be happy. And the reason why this girl in the movie quits, like loads of other people do, when they become a little bit good at things, I'm talking too much, but it's like they know it's not meaningful, so they leave it. Anyway, any thoughts?
So obviously we've grown up in a capitalist society, and where capital is the main event, acquisition of wealth. And on the one hand, society tells us that the bigger the house, the more material possessions you have, the happier you'll be. I still haven't. I've tried. I went down that route. Didn't didn't find contentment and fulfillment there, and tried something else, and then something else in a different industry, socially and mentally, emotionally, trying lots of different things to work out what fits my natural skills and capacities. And I still haven't worked it out, what I'm going to do with my life. But you that's life. You trundle along and you try and work things out as you go along. So you want your children to have a well balanced, well rounded lives. I don't say to my children, "Oh, I wish you grow up to have a 9 to 5 job." No, that's not a mentality that I'm willing to force on my children. But in a capitalist society, that's what is expected of you. That's um, in the Quran, I think it talks about that life is this. It's a pastime. It's a sport. Your children, your wife, your wealth is a test for you. And I have definitely find more peace and contentment when I look back of all the things I've been up to, good, bad, and ugly. The things I hope that will be vouched in my favour are certainly the bits that I have not done for myself, for looking out for others around me, in whatever capacity. And everyone can do that, whether it's looking after your neighbour, your parents, smiling. You
Mm.
don't have to have a career, working in an orphanage in Calcutta. I can't remember the name of that lady. There was a very famous lady, hero,
Teresa, is
Mother
it?
Teresa, and she was
Yeah.
considered a hero, which is totally anti-capitalist, but people relate to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I like a lot of what you were saying. And the thing you were saying about your wife and children, everything sort of being a pastime or a temporary thing. It doesn't mean you don't can't be kind to your wife. In fact, Islam says you have to be kind to your life. There's a duty, and you have to kind. It's
Yeah,
kind of
it
like,
puts it
see,
into
looking at the bigger
perspective.
picture first.
Yeah, it puts it into
Yeah.
perspective. If you know that, okay, it's kicking off between me and somebody in the family, um, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, I can overlook it because it's temporary and it's all a test. So that gives you a sense of okay, well, perspective and step back instead of get being too negative.
Yeah, because when you've got the big picture of what you want to do with your life, then you tried your best, sort of thing. I kind of think that's how a lot of Muslims feel. Like, did my best, God saw it. It didn't quite pan out like I thought, you know, but
Had
I
Yeah,
tried and
had
I'm
good
happy with my.
intentions.
Exactly. It's the, what was it? The intention that counts in Islam, was it?
Yes, intention
Deeds are
counts.
judged by motives or your intentions and things. And that's
Right.
what we can control, our intentions rather than the results,
Well,
which
that's the
are
story of
not.
my life. Good intentions, poor delivery, poor execution.
Okay. He's very humble, by the way, so don't believe everything he says. Um, but yeah. All right. Okay. So, should everyone be forced to take the COVID vaccine? Okay. Um, so this is the thing I would like to start off with. So first of all, it's got to be about Islam, just not me chatting away. So what is the absolutely fascinating thing that Islam talks about that has worked more than COVID vaccines? When it's so before the COVID vaccines came out, loads of countries managed to get rid of corona much as they could. I mean, obviously, it crept back in when they opened their airports and stuff. But guess what they did? So there's a advice from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said, when there's a plague, so plague you could say like a disease that is a bit dangerous and spreads a lot, right? Says if there's a plague in some other place, don't go there. And I love this stuff. It's so obvious, right? And but this is kind of the less obvious thing. If you're in a place where the plague is already there, don't run from it, which is also like fascinating. Like that's not obvious from somebody who couldn't read and write. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, couldn't read or write. He really didn't know, like he wasn't taught anything scientific about how things are contagious and all this kind of stuff. There's pretty amazing advice, but not only is it amazing, it's the only advice I would say that has actually worked 100%. So New Zealand, you might think New Zealand far off place. Okay, what about Isle of Man, just a corner next to the UK, the only place that got rid of COVID? Not Ireland, not all of the, and Isle of Man, they just did this kind of thing, like had a strict lockdown, not the fake lockdown which we had in London, where everybody was like, "Oh yeah, lockdown, I'm going to my family's friend." Like I know too many people who did that, right? Um, and the virus kept spreading. I mean, a lot of people did keep to it, and so the virus got controlled. But it is in a way fairly simple. This virus, is not magic. It's a living thing, and it gets to live for 2 weeks. So if you spread it within the 2 weeks, it keeps going. But if you don't spread in the 2 weeks, guess what? It can't. It doesn't have an option. It's not Superman. It's not going to jump from you to somebody else some other way. So it's a mistake. The question almost is a mistake because people have gone into this tribal mentality. I'm not going to go on too much, but they've gone like, I am for the COVID vaccine. And then the other group is, I am against the COVID vaccine. And then it's like, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. And the whole debate is about egos, about being proved right, where they should be more concerned about saving the world. And if they save the world, they'd step back and go, oh, what has worked? COVID vaccine helped a bit, yeah, but actually, what else has worked? Anyway, so your thoughts, Salim?
Smallpox was eradicated globally. It's the one thing that's been eradicated globally. It was scar and maim 35% of its victims. Polio, I think, is almost eradicated. And these are again viruses that kill millions. Um, I think that if you're selfish, oh, I'll take the vaccine, I'll not. Well, it's less about if you put the community first, society first, um, and discount yourself as a carrier, by taking the vaccine. I think that's more important. Obviously, children are not vaccinated yet, so they're all carriers. And then the other important angle I would consider, and so for smallpox, which has been eradicated, were there pockets of people that said, "I don't want to be vaccinated. I'm going to remain a carrier." It wouldn't, uh, I don't know how they dealt with that.
Yeah.
But then it says, should everyone be forced to take the vaccine? I think there are countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, the bottom end countries of the world, Nicaragua, that can't afford the vaccine. They don't have the vaccine. They don't have the option, the luxury of saying, "Oh well, I think I'll take it, or I think I won't." They don't even have it, and so
I get what you're
again,
saying. So you're saying a couple of things about like social responsibility. Sounds like what you're saying. Like, don't put yourself first. Put your community first, sort of thing, right? Fair
yeah,
enough. Is that what kind of what
yeah,
you're saying?
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, we live in the
Individual.
individual rights. It's all about me, and obviously Islam doesn't have that view. It says, look, the individual is expendable. Society comes first.
I think I would put it a different way. Islam says like yeah, work on people's responsibilities because that's the kind of stuff that actually makes you happy. Your responsibilities towards other people, because that's how you find, and you don't actually lose much by doing that. um but so the sort of counter argument, it's not really, I'm not even sure if it's a counter argument really, is that you see, when you have a virus, so there's a lot of misunderstanding. First of all, taking the vaccine doesn't stop you from spreading at all. No difference. In fact, there's logically, if we're like, this is something everybody agrees on, that the kids are the super spreaders. Have you heard that, right? Those
It's true. They're
kids,
the carriers.
right? Okay, they are the super spreaders. Now let's take it out on the kids a little bit,
Well, only
right?
because they're carriers and they don't have vaccines. So if
No,
I
but
was to,
the logical point is that just because so the vaccine, the intention of it is so that you don't get sick from it, but that has nothing to do with spreading it. So kids, perfect example, next to no kid dies from COVID unless they've got already health issues. Like the probability is so small, it's crazy, right? So I'm talking about your inability to feel sick has nothing to do with your ability to spread it. And that's been borne out in all the evidence. You can even see a negative correlation between the amount of spread and the amount of COVID vaccines taken. And the reason why there's a negative correlation is precisely because people think that they won't spread it. They've become like it's some magic bullet, right? And then they just start chilling out. They go to everybody's house and whatever. And guess what? UK, all these other places which have got very high rates of vaccine uptake, massive amount of corona.
I think that
Thoughts?
the question is, should everyone be forced to take the COVID vaccine? If I was
Mm,
to say, should all children under the age of 12 not be allowed to work? Everyone would say, yeah, of course, they shouldn't be allowed to work. But 150 years ago, that would be outrageous. They'd say, well, it's up to the child if you want to work down the mine. But
mm.
now society has changed. They say, oh, actually, they had to fight.
But are
To,
you saying it's more socially responsible to take the COVID vaccine, even though it has no effect on the spread? That's what I'm saying. That's the missing logic. And if you miss that logic, it's really dangerous for society.
you saying that
The COVID
by
vaccine protects, this is a simple thing. COVID vaccine only protects old or sick people. That's kind of a fact. It affects, like, it barely has any effect on young healthy people. Like I got COVID, zero effect. But if you're fat, that's the thing, that this is another reason why this question is so dangerous, because people are focusing on the thing that has a marginal effect, but the thing that has the biggest effect is your obesity. And I know young people who almost died just because they're fat, really.
So by not taking the vaccine, you are effectively killing fat people who are not fat, but people who have health issues.
No, makes no difference.
Yes, that's what you're saying.
I'm saying you don't spread it. You spread it either way. Doesn't matter if you take the vaccine or not. But I'll let you have the last word because people make their own kind of judgment.
I
Go on.
think the
What is?
state, as the state has decided that in the end that women are allowed the vote, or if the state has decided that children are not allowed to work in down the mine, the state should say the same for COVID, that it's mandatory for everybody.
Cool. I said you can have the last word. Okay. So, and just a kind of like a final thing, nothing to do with it. The reason why it doesn't matter if I reply or whatever, it's like you heard what I said, you heard what Salim said, and I think that's a really good way forward for a conversation. You don't have to try to win the discussion. It's like, cool, everybody's got a brain. You can think about it. Do you know what I mean? So cool. Appreciate you having an opposite point of view to me. That was good. That's what you're here for, Salim. So all right, but also to entertain me. Um, how can I stay happy if life is full of difficulties? So this is me and Salim have a weekly chat, and Salim watched some masterclass of some sort about this, and I'm going to give my point of view, and then we'll see what Salim's got to say about it. So, um, obviously, life's full of difficulties, things, unexpected things. You just don't know what's going to happen. So, how can you be sure you're going to be happy if you don't know what's around the corner? I think is that kind of like the question. Is that what we were talking about, Salim?
We talked about resilience. We talked about heroism in life. We talked
Mm.
about
Would
challenges.
you
If
say
you
that question is in line with what you're saying? So resilience, isn't that meaning being happy despite the difficulties?
keeping it together,
Oh, but I want to be a bit more. This show's about happiness, you know. It's not about just keeping it together. I'm
yeah,
a
no, I
survivor.
disagree. I don't
I'm a
think
bit more than that.
life was not created to make you happy.
Oh,
We try
ooh.
and yeah, well, I mean, obviously, ideally, we should be
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of
serenity and
people
be
say what you're saying.
peaceful,
So, yeah.
but yeah, happiness is not the main event. I mean, is the main goal in life. It's
Okay,
without suffering, without difficulties, you won't appreciate the happiness.
sure. So I'm going to put it this way because this is I like that Salim's brought up this thing, like happiness is not the goal, because a lot of very wise people have said that, that I've heard. Um, you see, this is the weird thing, and I think I've said this to Salim. I often enjoy the difficulties, right?
Yeah,
Because the difficulties are proving why I'm doing it. See, I'll get a lot of backlash for doing this program, right? Um, and it's like if everybody is supporting me, like loads of views and everybody's saying thank you, but I kind of get the opposite most of the time, right? Um, then I know why I'm doing it because I'm not doing it for the views. I'm definitely not getting any money out of it. Made a decision not to monetize these videos, right? That's the cool stuff. That's like, there you go. I'm
so
not doing it for another reason. So it's kind of an answer. Any
so
thoughts about that?
there was a yeah, obviously during the battle at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, people were having naps. I mean, can you imagine? It's kicking off. People are dying left, right, and center, and your serenity is that you know what? I'm just going to have a nap in the middle of a battle. And if you're serene when all around, there's a famous poem, when you're serene when all around you is a flame. I'm not sure the words, but I've been in situations where it's kicking off. I might be in the office and there's a lot of pressure about delivering and so on and so on, but I'm quite calm because you put it into perspective. It, um, so I think in that way you can remain happy during periods of aggravation and the challenges in life, whether it's health in the family, legal battles, or life throws a number of different challenges at you, and it's through those experiences that make you calm. I mean, how many old people, as you get through life towards the end, people are calm because they know they've gone through life and death. They realize that actually death is part of the cycle, and those that get left behind, those that are bereaved, they've been living with that coming of death, the ill health, and it's almost a sense of relief when the person passes away, for the person that passed away and those that get left behind. So they're kind of happy, even though it's death.
Mm. Especially if they're in pain and stuff, right? Yeah, see what you're saying. Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? So yeah, so about this kind of you're saying lots of things that I know, I think I understand, but kind of need to. You said like perspective, right? And you have to bear in mind that a lot of people watching this are like, what perspective can you possibly have when, I don't know, your boss is shouting at you, you ain't done it in time, and I don't know, you're getting all sorts of abuse. What perspective is there? And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the ultimate perspective is God, right? And I'm supposed to try to bring in some sort of quote from the Holy Quran or verse or whatever. So the one that kind of comes to mind for some reason, this is, I'm gonna have to think, is it from the Quran or Hadith, right? But there's definitely what there's a Hadith. I shouldn't say Hadith. It means saying of Prophet Muhammad. It goes something like, "You might say this is Quran actually. Now it's come back. So, but say my life, my sitting, my everything. Basically, it's not everything. There's lots of other stuff, right? Is all to do with is for the sake of God. That's it. If everything is just to do with that, then nothing else matters. It's like, oh, I'm doing this job. Like, okay, you're doing a job, right? And the whole reason you're doing this job is because of God. That's it. And then you lose the job. So what? I was doing it for God in the first place. And it might sound sort of heroic, maybe, okay, to use Salim's word earlier on, but this is a really common thing for Muslims, and I find of religious people generally, like even Christians, whatever, who are truly religious, not just like say it's not just a label for them, right? That's what I found. Um, and so life just that's how you can stay happy all the time because it's like there is that perspective. And when you have the God sort of perspective, God is watching me. I'm going to be here for a short while. Like also what Celine was saying, this is the life as a pastime. It's just something that happens temporarily. You're going to be off to the next spot, after this life, right? Then that kind of perspective makes everything that's happening at the moment really small somehow. Have I misunderstood you about the perspective thing?
No, you're right. Perspective. I mean, obviously, we're humans have only been on the planet for a speck of a moment, considering the 6 billion years or plus of the universe, and so we're not in 4 or 5 generations. No one's going to remember us. We're just here for a speck of a moment. So during that moment, let's try and be kind and loving and overlooking. Um, you know, ultimately, when I talk about perspective, as you go through life, you experience its life is full of experiences, um, and the more you look for God, the more you purify yourself, the more experiences you have of God. You know, okay, so here's a job, 250 grand a year. Okay, I know that that's become as a result of my answering of prayers. Okay, on the other hand, oh well, you have to bury your son. Okay, perspective. That's bad, the good and the bad, and all these challenges that you go through in life. The more experiences you have of whether it's answering of prayers or getting to know God and his individual attributes, that's far more important than, you know, his some material gains. And that's the
Mm.
kind of perspective I was thinking about.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like that. Thank you. So, oh, there's a thank you there. So, thank you, Salim, first of all. Number one, thank you. Really appreciate you joining my show. Good friend. Um, Next class. Oh, thank you, everybody else, by the way. Thank you for the comments. There's another comment just coming in there. Thank you, Hamid. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you, whoever joined in. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. And thank
It's
you
for
for
Hamid.
everybody watching. For Hamid, yeah, there you go, Hamid, straight from Salim. And yeah, next Thursday, same another chat. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. 7 to 8 p.m. UK time. Please do me a favor and press that like button. Sounds like a bit like a YouTuber, but yeah, I'm a YouTuber, aren't I? But it's like, what happens if you press the like button? Maybe YouTube will tell some other people to watch it, and I really want more people to benefit from it. I genuinely think it helps people. So, over and out. Peace be upon you, Salim, and everybody else. Catch you next week. You want to hang on? Might as well have a chin wag just for a minute afterwards.